Yesterday we are talking about how this asava, rendered as cankers or taints, as mentioned in Paṇḍitā Sutta, discourse on the established, has been used or is used as a current or stream in other discourses. And in this way, the defilements are represented as current instead of as asava or cankers or taints, which is for your general knowledge. And the current or the streams of impurities flow everywhere, all over the world, in all the worlds. Sometimes in a gentle manner, with a gentle speed, at other times gaining momentum, and at other times rapidly, like a waterfall. And those who are drifted into these currents or streams are bound to endure suffering. Though some have attained mundane absorptions, lokiya jhana, and supernormal powers, abhinyas, they do not know how to check the flow of these currents, nor cut them off altogether. Although they have attained these supernormal powers and absorptions, they are not aware of the methods. So, referring to this, we know that just the attainment of jhanas and abhinyas are not enough to check and stop the flow of these currents. Only Buddha knows the methods how to check the flow and how to cut them off altogether. As for the attainment of jhanas and abhinyas, absorptions and supernormal powers, the practices are enough to distance or subdue these hindrances to progress or defilements, calm them, distance them, keep at a distance. But if these latent tendencies of defilements are translated into physical and verbal behaviors, then there will be transgressive defilements, transgressive actions. Since they do not know how to check or stop the flow of these currents, they live like this and end their lives in this way. But they know that such currents are flowing. Only when the Buddha, so they came to the Buddha and asked these questions, how to check and stop and cut off these currents altogether. And the Buddha has said, that's a titi-sam nivarana. These currents can be checked or stopped by mindfulness. Mindfulness means the practice of satipatthana, the way of mindfulness. And as for stopping and cutting off altogether, only paññā, wisdom. That means vipassana, insight, knowledge, and noble path, Ariya knowledge, mega path, path knowledge, will be able to cut off these currents altogether. So with mindfulness, the currents can be weakened, and with vipassana jnana and Ariya jnana, they can be cut off altogether. In the course of the practice of vipassana, they will be cut off, they will be checked or weakened on a part-time basis, or they will be cut off on a part-time basis. Only with the attainment of path consciousness, Ariya Mega Jnana, will they be able to be cut off on a full-time basis to the point of no return. That means the respective or the relevant defilements relevant to this path will not come back altogether. So it is said that only wisdom is a means of cutting off these currents. That was the answer given by the Buddha. There are many questions and answers in this discourse, but since they are not related to our subject, we are leaving them altogether. So just this was given as a general knowledge for you to know that the asava, tankers or tails, are used in another sense as sota, stream or current in other discourses. Just like the pus and blood flow out of your old source, so do these defilements will flow whenever you see things in all your sense impressions, whether you are seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling or thinking. These asavas, cankers will flow on your six sense objects as you see, hear, taste, touch and so on. Just like the pus and blood flow out of your old source. And these impurities are not other than avijja, tanha, ignorance, attachment or greed, and view, wrong view. So, indulging in them, you commit wrongdoing by body, speech and mind. But leaving out the consequences in the future existences, you should understand that these things give unwholesome results in this very life. And they themselves are detestable, and their resultant effects are also despicable in the form of initial resultant and continuing resultant. And they have a wide scope of influence. Speaking Dhamma-wise, or from the angle of from the perspective of Dhamma, as putujanas, ordinary beings, these cankers or taints flow up to the consciousness known as Gotrabu, rendered as change of lineage when you are changing from ordinary being to the status of a noble person, known as Gotrabu. And speaking from the plane-wise, from different planes, there are 31 planes, and different, speaking by planes or plane-wise, it goes up to, or it flows until Bhavega, the highest planes in the 31 planes in the universe. So it amounts to saying that the scope is so wide that it flows to change of lineage consciousness, if you speak from the Dhamma point of view, and to the highest plane, if you are speaking from the perspective of the planes in the 31 planes. So the scope is very wide. In this way, these cankers and taints flow like the blood and pus from old source, and only Buddha is the only person who knows how to check the flow and cut them off altogether. And these methods are not given from imaginations or fantasies or concepts, but they are the result of his own practice, his own realization, and only after he understood these methods, he preached the Dhamma to all beings, the method of stopping and cutting off altogether. There's nothing from imaginations, nothing from fantasies. And all these things happen if you're able to activate your mindfulness energetically at every sense impressions, at every seeing, hearing, tasting, touching and so on. If you focus concurrently, as the noting mind is concurrent with the object of attention, and at the same time you are exerting energy in order that your noting mind will reach the object to be noted, then as much as you apply these energy and power of focusing, the mindfulness, noted mind will be anchored fixedly on the object to be noted. The noted mind will penetrate into the object of attention. There will be no forgetting. The mind will not forget the objects. It will not lose sight of the object, and it will be able to be activated on the object to be noted. As the noted mind comes to face with the object to be noted, then the mindfulness will be cultivated, so that the mindfulness is protecting the bhavana citta, the meditative mind, from the attack of these cankers or taints, because mindfulness has the property of protection, protecting the mind, arika prachapadana, manifestation of protection, so that your mind is properly protected. In this way, mindfulness can block all the path to the flow of these cankers or taints. If the mindfulness has the power of protection, then the mind will become secure, known as goti, secure from all this bondage of these cankers or taints. Then there will be freedom from these cankers or taints, asavas, known as vimukti. You will be liberated from these impurities. There will be no avijja, no ignorance, not knowing the truth, knowing wrongly. There will be no attachment to desirable objects, and there will be no wrong view, because you are seeing things in their own right and correctly. The nature of mind and body is known, and together with their conditionality. And so that you will not hold the view of the existence of self or soul, such as individual self, individual soul, or supreme self, supreme soul, jiva atta, parama atta. And all these you'll be able to overcome all these views. And you'll be able to check the flow of these cankers and taints, and not only check but cut them off altogether on a part-time basis at the moment of cultivation of the insight knowledge, and towards exhaustion, towards the overcoming of these cankers altogether. So, with mindfulness, if you are able to activate mindfulness, then as the noting mind falls calm and collected on the object of attention, there will be deepening of concentration. At this moment, we call this kanika samadhi, momentary concentration. As much as you strengthen your momentary concentration, as your noting mind is concurrent and focused on the object to be noted, mindfulness is occurring, and also there was energy involved, virya also involved, and there is energy, mindfulness, and concentration, and there's also this samasankappa, the right aim, which in essence is vitakka, aiming, right aim, and there is also samadhi, right view. You're seeing things in their true nature, that is panya, wisdom. These two things make up the wisdom group, that is samasankappa and samadhi. So with these three groups, concentration group, namely virya, sati, samadhi, energy, mindfulness and concentration, which make up the concentration group, and the twofold panya group, wisdom group, make up 5 parts, 5 factors in the noble path of the constituents, 5 out of 8. And in this way, you are calming or subduing or overcoming the obsessive defilements, namely in this case asavas, cankers, or taints, and as the noting mind is concurrent with the object, they will be cut off. So, with the vows of precepts, in the beginning of your practice, taking the vows of precepts, sila, you are overcoming the transgressive types of defilements. you have subdued or calmed these transgressive defilements which can arise in your body and speech. And also there is this undertaking, the vows that we call it Chirana, volitional action, by which we are observing so-called Chirana Sila, morality by way of volition, or volitional morality. So with these three constituents of morality group, three constituents of concentration group, Vipassana Samadhi, and two constituents of wisdom group, make up Eightfold Path. So where do they come from? They come from the practice of the way of mindfulness, Satipatthana. So, and that means Satipatthana, where does Satipatthana come from? Satipatthana comes from the practice of the contemplation of the body as body, or mindfulness of the body, Anapana Satipatthana, by which practicing mindfulness of the body, you are also practicing Eightfold Path. And as you are noting every feeling or sensation, good or bad, or neutral that arises in you, which is Virinanupasana Satipatthana, mindfulness of feeling, you are practicing the Eightfold Path. And if you are noting every thoughts and ideas which happen in your mind, which is Chiranupasana Satipatthana, mindfulness of the mind, you are practicing Eightfold Path. And as you are noting general activities such as seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, and so on, which is the practice of Dhamma Anupasana Satipatthana, mindfulness of the Dhamma objects, you are practicing Eightfold Path. In this way, you are practicing the Eightfold Path, which is again can be divided into three groups, namely morality group, Sila, Khanda, concentration group, Samadhi Khanda, and wisdom group, Panya Khanda. And with this, we are able to overcome the three grades of defilements, namely gross form of defilements, medium form, and refined form of defilements. So quite valuable. Especially at the insight knowledge, stage of insight knowledge, known as Udayavya, the fleeting momentary nature of experience. These all, that's where this Eka Dhamma, the one Dhamma, namely Appamada, diligence, vigilance, or heedfulness, becomes very obvious. At this stage, one becomes established very firmly in the practice, especially on Appamada, heedfulness, diligence, or vigilance. When one is practicing respectfully, carefully, continuously, without resting, in an uninterrupted flow, not even missing not even the minute microscopic details. At this stage, then the bhavana panya, the wisdom of meditation, is bound to arise, bound to be cultivated. This is discriminating knowledge. It is bhavana panya, which is, in a sense, insight knowledge, Vipassana panya, Vipassana jnana, knowing the mind-body objects in terms of the universal interlocking characteristics of impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and selflessness, with Vipassana jnana, which is Vipassana jnana, it is knowing things in a variety of ways, in variety of modes, such as Vipassana jnana. At this moment, the awareness becomes panoramic, becomes very sharp, very intense, very bright and clear, and progressive. So at this stage, insight knowledge becomes very strong at this stage. And what are the supporting factors? There are supporting factors in order to reach that stage. And they are none other than the four four wholesome states, namely Vriya, Sadavriya, Sati Samadhi, faith, energy, mindfulness and concentration, which gives rise or which causes wisdom or knowledge to arise, so that your awareness becomes very intense, very sharp, and very panoramic, with widening of scope, widening of perspective. Awareness becomes bright and clear and progressive. At this stage, knowledge arises in a very unique manner, at the stage of the fleeting momentary nature of experience, seeing the first arising and passing away of objects. When your faith and confidence will arise by leaps and bounds, and in this way you come to have full faith in the practice as well as in the result of the practice. You have full faith also in the Buddha who has given this practice, this Dhamma. Nobody is asking you, forcing you to have faith in them, to trust them, to believe in them. You yourself come to believe in them. And then also you will have faith and gratitude towards those individuals who are helping you or guiding you to undertake the practice. Such is the value of faith and confidence, saddha, which will lead to strong zeal, desire to undertake the practice energetically, such as the application of Aradavriya, sustained energy, or Pekahidavriya, uplifting energy, energy which will uplift you, not lower you down or make you become stagnant in the middle, which are the factors leading to the strengthening or sharpening of the controlling faculties. At this stage, mindfulness becomes very unique, becomes extraordinary. In the beginning, the mindfulness was very normal, ordinary in the initial launching stage. But later on, and in the course of the practice, one is able to energetically focus so that there will arise this mindfulness known as Upaṭṭhita Sati, activated mindfulness, or fixed, fully established mindfulness, leading to Supaṭṭhita Sati, extraordinarily fixed mindfulness, which is very unique, so that your object, your mind is anchored on the object to be noted, without any distraction, without any restlessness. There's no moving away from no casting away from the object of attention, known as available samadhi. In this case, kanika samadhi, momentary concentration arises, which also is a factor leading to the sharpening of these controlling faculties, especially at this Uriya stage, when these things, controlling faculties, will be sharpened by leaps and bounds. At this stage of the cultivation of bhavana panya, which in essence is Vipassana panya, insight knowledge, insight wisdom, or meditative knowledge, meditative wisdom, this is cultivating piññendriya, the controlling faculty of wisdom. When this happens, there will be no delusion, or there will be no lack of clarity as regards objects to be noted. There will be no moha, delusion. This piññendriya is said to have played a dominant role over this delusion. So it is a dominance over moha because of this controlling power, the controlling faculty of wisdom has dominance over ignorance as regards every arising object, because it has reached the stage of controlling power or dominating power. Because at this stage, wisdom becomes developed and sharp. Hence it has this controlling power. As is given in the text, that as regards the objects which happen in your body, as they are being noted, these objects are formations, mind-body formations, such as seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, and so on, all the sense impressions and other objects as they arise. Since one is able to activate mindfulness, the factors have controlling power over the impurities. It has the power of sharpening the controlling faculties. Sharpening the controlling faculty of concentration, samadhi indriya, as once the mind is falling calm and collected, on the object to be noted, establishing what is known as Khanika Samadhi, momentary concentration. It has come to the stage of controlling faculty, that is, the controlling faculty of concentration, samadhi indriya, so that it has dominance or controlling power over distraction, over restlessness. There will be no restlessness or distraction of the mind from the object to be noted. And at the same time, there is this controlling power of wisdom, indriya. In a sense, it is inside knowledge. This also happens as the noting mind penetrates the object to be noted. These two things will happen: concentration, the power of concentration, and the power of knowledge or wisdom, which are samadhi indriya, the controlling power of concentration, and indriya, controlling power of wisdom. Hence, the maxim as given in here is that if you are able to activate mindfulness, your awareness is bound to become sharpened, and then there will be progression of awareness, and the awareness will be widened, there will be widening of the perspective and the brightness of awareness. As much as Khanika Samadhi, momentary concentration, is strong, it reaches the stage of controlling faculty, then the noting mind will easily fall calm and collected on the object to be noted without any difficulty, giving rise to, as a result of this samadhi indriya, controlling faculty of concentration, and by which this indriya, the controlling faculty of wisdom, also will happen in a unique manner. When we say the awareness or insight knowledge becomes very intensive and widened in scope or perspective, it is the result of the power of mindfulness. As objects arise continuously, one by one, in series, as though they are just lining up, so too noting mind follow these objects, note them continuously, one after another, following them without missing them. This is the active, sustained mindfulness. In order to give rise to satindriya, that is the controlling faculty of mindfulness, this gives rise to intense awareness or intensive insight knowledge. And as one is noting them, when you are noting, you are noting just one object or one element or one characteristic only, but in one characteristic or one element there are other elements, sub-elements we call them, which happen at the same time. For instance, when you are noting stiffness or tension, you are noting just one thing, one sensation, one element, but you become aware of many things inside this stiffness or tension, such as there is warmth, radiation, and movements and vibrations in this stiffness alone. So although you are knowing one thing, you are knowing many things. Hence, the awareness is said to be panoramic. That is a widened perspective. So, just like when the mindfulness is very strong, it will be when you are shooting, when you are in your target practice, for instance, when you are shooting an arrow to the target, although that arrow may be very sharp pointed, when it reaches the target, it may get blunt due to its impact with the cardboard or whatever. Then it might miss the object, because it becomes blunt once it reaches the target. But not so with mindfulness. When it is sharp, when it is powerful, it becomes sustained on an object to be noted. As you shoot, so to speak, as you activate your mindfulness, it will be sustained on the object to be noted in order to cultivate insight knowledge. Hence, this expression in the maxim, with the power of mindfulness. As the mindfulness is strong, the awareness or insight knowledge becomes intensive and panoramic or widened. Some yogis would even be able to remember their life in their young days. Although in ordinary sense they may not be able to remember these things, their experiences in their young life may come to their mind at this stage. It is in a wonderful manner. Some yogis will be able to remember even their experiences in the mother's womb, and even their previous lives. The text is given as a result of the power of mindfulness. The mindfulness becomes very intensive. So one will be able to see even the other world, paraloka, like those who have possessed the power of apanya, supernormal powers. It has been praised in the text in this way. So, just as one is able to see these things, one may become attached to such seeing, like supernormal knowledge. And if one becomes attached in a subtle way, niganti, then one may not be able to progress in his or her practice. Then it will happen like this: when you have clear water, clarified by letting the sediment settle down at the bottom, if you just mix it or stir it, then the sediments will come up again and the water will become cloudy and slimy. But when you come to the higher insight knowledge of Puriya Jnana, such thing as nikanti, subtle attachment will not happen. You will not have a chance to rise in the stream of consciousness, because at that time your awareness becomes very bright. At this stage, your faculty of faith, sadhindriya, becomes very strong and powerful, so that your awareness or insight knowledge becomes very bright and clear, like this clear water. When the water is very clear and fluid, instead of being slimy, so too your faith and confidence will become very clear, and your awareness will become very clear and bright as a result of this power of faith and confidence, saddha. So that's why it is given in the maxim, with the power of faith, your insight knowledge, awareness becomes clear and bright. So one is given an encouragement according to the maxim that with the power of faith and confidence, the awareness and insight knowledge becomes bright and clear. If you are in the course of practice practicing intermittently, by stopping, resting, and sometimes practicing like stop and go method. And if you are not doing continuously, then these kilesa enemies are bound to enter your stream of consciousness, are bound to attack you. If you are listless and lethargic and laid back, this would be tantamount to being cowardly, not courageous, not heroic. In this way, in this case, you need the application of energy, virya, to maximize this energy in order to overcome these difficulties. And then only your insight knowledge, awareness will become progressive. That is, with the application of energy, you'll be able to reach the goal. In this way, you are bound to progress. So that's why it's given us with energy. One's awareness becomes progressive and heroic. So, in this, although the awareness will be bright and clear, if you are not practicing continuously, then you will be cowardly, you will not be courageous, and it will not progress. So energy, with the power of energy, you can make your insight knowledge progressive. Hence the maxim that if with the application or with the power of energy, your insight knowledge becomes progressive or progresses. In this way, these controlling faculties will become your insight knowledge will become intensive, clear and bright, panoramic, widened, and progressive. Hence, you are said to be cultivating Paṇḍitā, the controlling faculties, the 5 controlling faculties, and Subhavita, and cultivating well these 5 controlling faculties, which will become very obvious at the insight stage of Uddiyaya Jnana. And so, in this way, you will be able to cultivate these 5 controlling faculties at the stage of Uddiyaya Jnana, not to mention when you come to the stage of Saṅkhārupeka Jnana, the knowledge of equanimity towards all formations. At this stage, it will become very obvious that these controlling faculties will be cultivated and cultivated well. So the insight knowledge will become very intensive, strong, bright, clear and bright, panoramic, and progressive. And also, this will be experienced by your own practical practice. And with just Appamada, just winding up, the heedfulness or diligence you should practice in order to be progressive. As Sayadaw urges you to do so. We stop here. In order to be progressive. As Sayadaw urges you to do so. We stop here. In order to be progressive. As Sayadaw urges you to do so.